Welcome to Fireside Gaming. I'm Billum, and this week we're diving into the world of fan translations with a look at Go Go Ackman for the Super Nintendo. Okay, I say Super Nintendo, but this game never got a release in the US, so it's fairer to say Super Famicom. But let's not get too caught up on that detail. That means I'm playing a fan translation of the game instead of the original version. Go Go Ackman is a 2D platformer based off of a manga by the same name. And if you grew up in the 90s, you'll likely already have a strong guess as to who the author of this manga is. That's right, it's Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball. Heck, even Ackman basically looks like a demonic version of Kid Trunks, and because of that, I often find myself reading his lines with that voice. Actually, I think it's fair to say that I read most of the dialogue in this game with voices from Dragon Ball. But what exactly is Go Go Ackman all about? Spoilers incoming. The game's story has Ackman waking up from a 50-year nap and setting off to collect souls for the Great Demon King. This has him battling against the Angel Army as they try to stop him. The most prominent of these is Tenchi, an angel out to prevent Ackman from collecting souls by any means necessary. That includes hiring hitmen, assassins, and various other professionals. If it isn't already clear, Go Go Ackman has an incredibly light tone that I quite enjoy. It's simple comedy that I can really get behind, and Toriyama's character designs really add to that. The story is entertaining to me because I always want to see what Ackman and his companion Gordon are going to get up to next in their search for souls. Add in Tenchi's attempts to foil him, as well as the snooty angel Michaela joining in to try and stop Ackman, and it's a solid setup. When it comes to gameplay, Go Go Ackman reminds me most of the side-scrolling elements in Goemon games. Players will travel through levels, fighting enemies, and platforming all along the way. Ackman dispenses of enemies with punches and kicks, and can also perform a slide move, which is handy for getting past some obstacles in the game. He's also repping a charge attack that sees him comically swing his arm around before releasing an energy wave from his fist. Players can pick up new weapons for Ackman as well, such as a blade boomerang, sword, and a gun. But these are only temporary and will disappear after getting hit. There are also bombs that players can find. These will kill any normal enemy on the screen and will also deal damage to bosses. Another item that players can find on their journey is this skull that offers players invincibility, just like the star does in the Super Mario Bros. Games. Defeating enemies can also have them drop hearts that heal Ackman for 1 point. Hidden in some levels are what I think are energy drinks that act as full heals. The levels in Go Go Ackman don't last very long, and each of them ends in a boss battle. Losing to this boss sends the player back to the start of that level. That might sound annoying, but it's not too bad considering how short the levels are. If there's one level where this really did annoy me, it's this car one early in the game. It's not overly frustrating to get through, but the boss at the end kept kicking my teeth in, so I had to do it over and over again. While most of Go Go Ackman is normal platforming, it does like to mix things up here and there, such as that driving level I just mentioned. Another example is a side-scrolling shooter level near the end of the game. None of these stand out as massive changes to the formula, but they do add enough variety to keep the game interesting for its short playtime. Yeah, Ackman isn't a long game, it only takes a couple of hours to beat. Even so, that doesn't mean players will see everything with just one run through the game. While there are only 5 stages to the game, each one is made up of 3 sub-stages. Throughout the game, players will be given choices about what to do. This lets them access different stages, which adds a bit of replay value to the game. And that's not the only extra bit of content to keep an eye out for. Several levels have hidden areas that players will want to find. These can be a bit tricky to track down considering some of them are hidden in places that you would think would cause an instant death. Luckily, death isn't a big deal in Go Go Ackman. While players do have limited lives, they have unlimited continues. Plus, continues pick up at the start of whatever substage the player was on, meaning no major loss in time. Add in the already short levels, and that means you can experiment and make mistakes to your heart's content in this game. For the record, players are going to want to seek out these extra areas. Many of them contain the weapon upgrades I mentioned above, and while those aren't necessary, they make getting through boss battles much easier, especially in the final areas of the game. When players do get to the final level, they'll find themselves squaring off against Tenchi and his hovercraft. After beating the minor annoyance, the Angel Castle takes off and Ackman chases after it. He enters the castles and navigates its halls to find Michaela waiting for him. After defeating the arrogant angel once, Michaela will bring out a battle armor to try and beat Ackman with, but it's not enough. With the Angel's defeat, the castle is about to explode, but not before Ackman and Gordon escape. The two decide to return home after their adventure. We then follow up with Tenchi and see him being berated by Michaela. The High Angel says he's returning to heaven and that Tenchi has to deal with Ackman on his own. And then Ackman does one of my favorite things in video games. It features an end scene that introduces all of the characters throughout the game. I've always loved it when games do this, and it fits perfectly with Go Go Ackman's comedic nature, especially with Ackman attacking Tenchi from the bottom screen and then chasing after him in a car and threatening to run him over. It's just such a fun way to finish off a game. Taking care of a few final bits here, I do have to mention that the soundtrack in Go Go Ackman is a lot of fun to listen to. It's got the right kind of high energy behind it that matches up with the rest of the game. I should also point out that the fan translation for this game came out way back in 1999. That means it's a bit rough around the edges in both quality and presentation. Despite that, it doesn't do any major harm to the game and succeeds at presenting it to an English-speaking audience. Overall, Go Go Ackman is a good game, and one that I have no problem recommending. It may be short, but that just means the game doesn't overstay its welcome. I just wish there was some way to officially play it outside of Japan. And you know what? There might be a glimmer of hope on that front. While Go Go Ackman originally came out back in 1993, the series just got published in the US in December 2021 as part of the Akira Toriyama's manga theater release from Viz Media. Maybe that will put some extra eyes on Ackman, and we could see a modern release of this classic gem. And if that happens, we could finally get translations for the other games in the series as well. Yeah, Go Go Ackman isn't a one-off title. There are 3 Super Famicom games in total. Obviously the first one has a fan translation, and there's a fan translation that just came out a couple of years ago for the 3rd entry. I have yet to play it, so I can't say much about it. Unfortunately, there's no fan translation for the 2nd game in the series. Maybe we'll get really lucky and a re-release of the game could bring official translations. With 3 entries in the series, excluding that Pac-Man clone on the Game Boy, Go Go Ackman is a perfect option to re-release in a bundle on modern consoles. I know the chances of this happening are incredibly slim, but a guy can hope, right? Thank you for stopping by to watch my video, and as always, take it easy.